Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
And this is episode 63 we got here at Screwball, and we got a little bit more news today. Some stuff that we just wanted to bring up that's a little bit more off the beaten path of more common news. Obviously, we're going to talk about certain, accolades that pitchers have gotten in the last week. We'll obviously bring that up, but I wanted to start this week with our topic of conversation, kind of like we did last week, I believe. But this week's topic of conversation is the unwritten rules of baseball. So since Frank usually, he brings us the topic every week, he brings it to my attention, what we're going to talk about. I'll let him kind of lead off where he wanted to kind of guide the conversation. So yeah, that's I don't know if you have any place you want to go with it, but I know you told me it's the unwritten rules of baseball. So let's just get into it.
Yeah, last year we seen issues with it, with Tatis hitting the grand slam up whatever amount of runs. It was talked about then. It's always kind of been talked about recently. But recently we've seen it again with Yerman Mercedes against William Astudillo, 3-0 pitch, position player pitching, and he decided to swing it at a grand slam, I believe. And at that point, the unwritten rules came out, especially with a manager like Tony La Russa. And it really wasn't thought about too much then until the next day when the Twins threw behind Mercedes. They threw the pitcher out, and after the game, La Russa said that he was fine with the way they handled it. I think that was a little bit blown out of proportion, because I think what he meant to say was, if you're upset with what happened, and that's how you wanted to handle it, by throwing a fastball pretty much at his thigh or his ass, that's fine. It's not at his head. It's not a cleat to his leg. It's nothing real dirty. It's just kind of a policing way the game's been policed forever. So I think that's what he meant by it, not like, hey, go ahead and hit my guys. But La Russa wasn't happy with the situation with his player, and it kind of caused a stir around the league about unwritten rules. And are the unwritten rules stupid? Should we follow them, or does anyone even know what they are? I think the unwritten rules really are just a way to not be a nuisance to your fellow players and your teammates, and certain players, it could really be a safety issue. If you're going out there doing something against a guy like Amir Garrett, who doesn't take much to go off the edge, he's going to throw a 96, 97, 98 mile per hour pitch, and he might go up and in at you. Not just hit you, like, oh, he hit me in the ass. Okay, that's where you want to get hit. No big deal. He might throw at your head.
Yeah.
And then come fight you.
Absolutely.
It's a safety issue at that point. So the unwritten rules are more just like a respect thing. You're a professional, I'm a professional. Don't show me up. And some of them are stupid, You've seen it all the time. One A-Rod ran across the mound. It's the pitcher's mound. You don't really have to run across it. So that's that concept there. Is it stupid? Yeah, it's kind of stupid. The idea of swinging 3-0 when you're up big, that's stupid. It really is a stupid idea. Because you still have stats. You're still trying to be good. I thought we thought the idea of pitching a position player was kind of like a unwritten rule. That seems to be broken. So, the unwritten rules are just mostly a way to respect each other. Do I think some of them could be stupid? Yeah, some of them could be. But the idea of you're going to show me up, I'm going to get back at you, that's still an unwritten rule. And that should still be followed. If you're going to show me up, I don't like the way you did things, I'm going to hit you.
Sure.
Simple as that. So, it's not not like any other sport. Maybe hockey's got some kind of unwritten rules, mess with the goalie and stuff like that. That's how baseball is. It's a deep-rooted history of the game, and such a respected to their peers that you just respect each other. So, I've always been on the side of, the history of the game and not changing the game, and I'm still on the side of the guys like La Russa and the older guys who are maybe adapted to some of the unwritten rules and adapted to the new league, but still believe that, we can't be just throwing bats around and showing people up without consequence. So, that's where I'm at with the unwritten rules. It's not. I can't see how you could say it's, oh well, it's we'll let the kids play. What does letting the kids play have anything to do with disrespecting the pitcher? He's a professional too. He's making millions of dollars. He's, the 1% of people who made it to the professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He's worked just as hard as you did. There's no reason you got to throw the bat for hitting a solo home run in like the first inning of a game in May. There's no reason to go ballistic. And I like the idea of showing emotion. There's no problem with that. But there's a line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the unwritten rules come in. You can't. There's so many.
Yeah.
You don't hit the pitcher with a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unwritten rule. It's not in the rule book. It's an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
It's just a respect. You don't hit the pitcher.
Yeah.
And it happens. But when it happens, it's like it's almost like the pitcher almost puts his hand out a little bit. I was like, hey, they don't try to do it.
Mm-mm. Mm.
So it's just a way to police itself, and I think it's good. I think it's you're going to push the boundaries of a lot of them for a long time, and you're still going to have people who believe in them, and you're still going to have people who don't believe in them. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a tension about it for a long time.
Yeah, I think the Tony La Russa situation with Yerman Mercedes, I think the 3-0 swinging when your team's up or whatever. Listen, if he's throwing the ball in there about 40 miles an hour, it's going to plop right into that strike zone. I mean, 3-0 count, yeah, I could see. I know why there's the argument. I don't have a problem with it, though. To me personally, I know it's one of those old unwritten rules, but, I mean, what am I going to do? I'm just going to sit there and watch this guy throw 40 down the middle? You know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it as much as some people do. I think a lot of people in baseball have kind of moved, okay, I see what, baseball's moving this direction, it's fine. But I brought up the unwritten rules here, or some of the unwritten rules, so we could kind of, if people are unfamiliar with some of them, maybe they're newer to baseball or something. But here's just some of them that I think are relevant to what we're talking about. One, do not bunt to break up a no-hitter. That's a big, that'd piss me off to no end if that happened in a game. And it's happened before.
Yeah.
Unless there's circumstances where maybe it's a 1-0 game and you're trying to win the game at that point. Granted, I still don't think you should bunt, but that at least is a more understandable. I've seen people try to bunt when someone's throwing no hitter, it's 4-0 or 5-0. It happens.
Yeah.
Here's second one. Do not swing in a 3-0 count. Swing on a 3-0 count. Your team is in a comfortable lead. Don't spend time admiring your home run you hit. That's a big one that's going on lately for the last quite a few years now. Don't steal bases if your team is ahead by a significant amount.
Now that one is a big one.
Don't steal.
There's no reason to run when you're up that big.
Yeah.
There's just no reason to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The Myron home run, we have turned the page on that. There's still situations when you go nuts and people go a little overboard, but that's not so bad. But the stealing bases one is a big no-no. There's no reason to steal bases when you're up 7-0 and it's the 5th, 6th, 7th inning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that one still. Don't swing at the first pitch of the at-bat. Pitchers allowed back-to-back home runs. I've heard that before. Don't work the count if you're winning or losing by a lot. Almost just kind of you're free swinging up there. And there's stuff like you mentioned with A-Rod with walking across the pitcher's mound. There's one, don't walk in front of the catcher or the umpire when you're walking the batter's box. There's stuff like that. Don't talk about a no-hitter. While there's one going on, you don't talk to the pitcher. You don't talk about it. So, there's millions. And there's millions that come up in certain situations. These are the most prevalent ones, I think, to our conversation. And I think some of them, like you said, we turned the page on admiring the home run. I think that we've reached a level to where there is an increased level of what you can do with still being respectful. There's a lot more pitchers in the league now that are like, okay, the guy got me. He's pumping up his team, whatever. I'm still not completely on board with it because I do think there are still some times the guy's helicoptering the bat and doing whatever. And then the pitcher, then pitchers, who knows what they start doing. You saw Gratterall or Bruce Stark, Gratterall, I'm not sure exactly how to say his name, for the Dodgers, whip his hat and his glove. So it becomes this war of escalation, who can do the craziest shit. And that's where I don't want to see stuff go. I don't mind if you show a little flair. I think that'll actually help with getting fans into baseball. I think that does help. But it has to be within what we now consider as baseball fans and baseball players, like pitchers especially, what they consider the respect line. Maybe you're pumping up your team, you toss the bat, you're looking at your team, you pump your chest, and you run around the bases. Maybe to the pitcher, most modern pitchers now, you're like, he got me. It sucks, but it is what it is. But if you're still under that line where you didn't cross it, and now there's a problem, and you could get hit next at bat, I think that's fine. I've softened to it a little bit. But yeah, the don't steal. stuff like that is a big no-no. I think we both agree on that. Don't bunt to break up a no-hitter. That's a big no-no. That'd piss me off.
I mean, it's simple as no matter what you do, there's no kneeling to run out the clock.
Yeah.
You have to get up to bat.
Mm-hmm.
So that stat's always gonna, that has to happen. That stat's gonna count against you. So you might as well try when you're up there. You don't have to steal second base.
No. There's no need.
That's the idea there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of other things too with the unwritten rules. I mean, anything with the pitcher really, it always seems to be. There's you've even heard ones with like guys like John Lester who can't throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't teams just steal second base? It's like people, they won't do it. They won't do it to the absurd amount because they're like, oh, well, you don't do that. That I don't really understand too much. You're trying to win a game. You try to win a game, but it's just a way really to police itself, the game.
Right.
And it's a high level of respect to the guys. So there's no need to do some of this stuff, and it's just respect to the game. And one that we've really seen recently, which is terrible, is Javier Baez decided to get up there and bat lefty.
Yeah.
That's an embarrassment to the game. I don't care. Oh, it's no fun. No, it's an embarrassment to the game. It's disrespectful to everybody involved, and it's disrespectful for the game to think that you could just walk up there as a professional and bat lefty and do what you want. That's just terrible. That's just not how you represent the game, represent yourself, represent the other players. They're professional players. You learn this as a 3-year-old. Don't rub it in on people or don't beat them up. It's sportsmanship. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. I just want to throw out, the unwritten rules. Yeah, sure, there's stupid ones, and we adapted and stuff like that. But really, to break it right down, it just comes down to respecting the other players and respecting the other teams, respecting the other franchises, and respecting the game itself. And that's the biggest thing. Respect the game itself. The game has given you everything you've gotten to these guys. Given everything you've gotten. Because you take a lot of these guys out of the game, and there's not much there. So, yeah, sure, there are a lot of guys who are very, very educated and in college and can go on to do bigger and better things or greater things. But there's a lot of guys who this is their lives.
Yeah.
Without baseball, they're back in their home country and, living in poverty or doing something not great. So respect the game that's brought you this far. And that's what it's all, that's what it's all about. It's a respect thing.
Sure.
And it's the same, hockey's got that same kind of ideas. It's such an old school.
Yeah.
Respect the guys before you, respect the franchise, respect the sport.
Yeah. There's definitely similarities there. And I agree, as long as because baseball will continue to evolve when we're, 50, 60, 70 game will be, I'm sure, completely different from the way it's played. Not, the game will always be the same, but, it evolves. So these unwritten rules, some of these could be completely phased out by then. As long as where we're going with baseball, as long as it still fits within that old school, but it's mending, and we can make the traditional fan happy with make the new fan happy, and as long as the players in the fields, it's like the pimp in the home run, which we've been, critics of. As long as it stays within what the MLB players and the fans, to a certain degree, feel is within that respect boundary, then I say kind of whatever. As long as the pitcher doesn't feel like he's got to get you now, like he took it that far, then I think it's okay. I've seen plenty of bat flips that I really didn't like. I really didn't like Jose Batista's, especially at the time. I still don't know if I really like it at all, but it's, the game changes and adapts.
It's like Carlos Gomez.
No.
And the fight where he had with Brian McCann, when Brian McCann didn't let him step on the plate.
Mm.
There's no reason for what you did there. You're just, at that point, you were purposely, yes, you beat us there with that pitch and that swing. We had a home run.
Mm-hmm.
But now at this point, now you're just trying to rub it in. Now you're trying to embarrass me. You're trying to make an ass of me. There's no need for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was.
Because me, I'll strike you out the next time and won't say a word. I'm going about my day. I'll strike out the next 10 guys and won't, not a word said.
Mm-hmm.
But you're 1 for 10 off of me with 1 home run in the middle of a game, and you're going nuts around the bases. Walking. You got a 40-second time around the bases. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You're purposely. There's no. What are you going to say? I'm just going around the bases. No, you're purposely going slow. You're purposely trying to disrespect me.
Yep.
That's where the boundaries come in. Don't just when it's known and it's easily visible to see that you're disrespecting me, the game, my teammates, whatever. That's where the issues come across. And that's essentially why the unwritten rules were there. Because back in the day, especially in baseball and just in the way things were, respect was a huge thing.
Mm-hmm.
Respect now, I don't think anyone respects anything anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem is. It's like, well, fuck them.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was a respect thing. So that's where these unwritten rules came in. It's like, you don't disrespect me, I won't disrespect you. We'll go about our ways. We'll play the game we want to play, and we love, and we'll get our money, and we'll continue playing. Now it's like, well, hopefully I can get some fans, and maybe I'll get some money, and maybe they'll make a T-shirt or a bobblehead or something crazy. I don't know what the thought is now.
Yeah.
So instead of just being like, I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna play the sport, and I'm just gonna go on, respect you, respect me, we'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a line that's always moving, and as time goes on, let the kids play that whole thing. Things will change, and like I said, when we're older, things will change. It just is what it is. The game isn't, saying when we're 60 years old, it'll be almost 40 years from now. 40 years ago, it was 1980 something. Game was completely different.
Yeah.
Just look at how, Greg Nettles and them and the Yankees and the Royals used to get into it. The Yankees and the Red Sox used to get into it. It's just a completely different game.
Yeah. It's just, and that's just how it is. It is different, but you have to adapt, but you still have to keep the idea, some of the ideas the same.
As long as the respect is there.
And that's the biggest thing, because no matter who you are, who you think you are, who you think you want to be, or who you can be, the game doesn't need you, you need it. That's how it always is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until you're done playing or something like that, at that point maybe, things could change.
Mm-hmm.
But if you picked up and just stopped playing, or something unfortunate happened, as we've seen with other players and Jose Fernandez and stuff like that, as much as that hurts the game's going to continue to roll on. So no matter if you're in it or not, it's going to roll on.
It's true. It'll just keep moving. It's been moving for over 100 years now, and it'll keep going.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people, the unwritten rules come up a lot in a lot of stuff, especially in the modern day, because there's there seems to be this constant struggle between traditionalist baseball fans and new age baseball fans, which is good. It's good for the game to find out where we're at as a collective fan base and collective MLB, association. So it's good to talk about, and I'm sure the game will keep. I'm sure the bat flips will get crazier, and like I said, that respect line will keep moving as long as everyone fits within that, and we don't have any issues, and guys starting to get beamed and thrown at the head and stuff like that. Then I guess it's all good. If the players that are at the end of the day are being paid to be on that field and they don't feel like they're being slighted and it's all within the respect game, then I got no problem with it. I'll have my criticisms of it, but at the end of the day, if they're fine with it, then that's great too. To move on to our news here, the first big piece of news that I figure would be on everyone's, on everyone's mind, because we record on Mondays, and on Tuesday and Wednesday we got 2 no-hitters, so might as well talk about those like every week. 2 more no-hitters, like I said, were just thrown the past week. On Tuesday, May 18th, Spencer Turnbull of the Tigers threw a no-hitter against the Mariners, and the very next day on the 19th, Corey Kluber of the Yankees threw a no-hitter against the Rangers. The Rangers, Mariners, and Indians have all been no-hit twice this season, and when counting all quote-unquote official no-hitters, there have been 6 no-hitters already. What's going on? We had a topic of conversation not too long ago about, are the pitchers that much ahead of the hitters? But now I think it goes into, and we talked about it in that episode too, I think the hitters now need to look internally and say, well, maybe this launch angle thing really ain't working. Me personally, I think it's a whole lot of bullshit, the launch angle stuff.
It's not working for everyone, that's for sure.
No,
it doesn't need to work for everyone.
No,
that's
sure.
where you have to draw the line.
Yeah, that's what I think too, is that there are some guys that are just going to go for the long ball, and that's just the way they play, and that's kind of how baseball's always been. You always got not always, but for most of its, most of the time baseball's been around, you got the guy in the lineup that's the 4-hitter. He cleans up, he hits the home run. That's fine. You have a few guys in the lineup now that have launch angle, but you still got to be able to. This is why the no-hitters are happening, because everyone's just swinging for the fences. You don't have guys that just try to get on base and just get the base hit and try to get, and move them over and get the sac fly, just small ball. That just seems to be out the window anymore.
Yeah.
So 6 no-hitters. We're not even in June. We got really 7 if you count Bumgarner's.
Yeah, the record's 8.
Which, at this point, it would really amaze me if we didn't get it.
That was before the turn of the century.
Yeah, so.
Spencer Turnbull, great little, 2 years ago he led the league in losses, still a relatively young pitcher, so that's great for him. And then you get a guy like a veteran like Kluber to come in and throw a no-hitter after what he's come back from. And then actually against the team in the stadium that he pitched 1 inning last year. And oddly enough, since he was with the team last year, he pitched 1 inning. They had plans for bobblehead nights, So the Yankees came to town. They said, "Oh, he's playing for the Yankees now. Let's give his bobblehead away." Now the night that he's pitching, even though he's pitching against us. So on the night that the Rangers had bobbleheads of Corey Kluber in a Rangers jersey, on the night he was pitching for the Yankees, he threw a no-hitter against the Rangers. So throw all that together.
Yeah, funny how the world works like that, you know?
But it's good for a guy like that who came back a long ways from a bunch of injuries. But he's really stacking together a great career over 100. At this point, just over 100 wins, 1,500 strikeouts, 2 Cy Youngs, a no hitter.
Yeah.
So this guy's got a lot on his mantle here.
Yeah, sure. He saved some injuries there, and really could be having a real serious conversation here. It's already getting there, but he did have some. He had some down years, had some injured years, so it sucks. But good for him. Good for Spencer Turnbull. I mean, it's insane. Someone's got to get a perfect game here. You think at some point they've come so close with some of these guys. I think Kluber had 1 walk, Turnbull had 2. I think that was it. That was the only blemishes.
Yeah,
you're right there. So, but yeah, number 2 on the news here, we got Joe West is going to make history. On Monday, May 24th, as of recording this, the day we're recording, umpire Joe West is set to tie the MLB record of most games umpired in the MLB. West, who is 68 years old, will be retiring at the end of the season, with the record most likely in his pocket. He will break Bill Clem's record of 5,375 career MLB games. So I know Joe West sometimes tends to be a point of controversy for baseball fans. I've seen a lot of good talk about him, a lot of bad talk about him. Not nearly to the level of Angel Hernandez, that's for sure. I mean, God, being with the game this long, he's 68 years old. He's going to have the most career games umpired. I mean, what a career for him. Like I said, there's controversy around him. You can't say he's perfect, but congrats to him. And me and you, we always just had, we always liked Joe West.
I love Joe West. The guy's seen it all in the game of baseball. But his big thing I always liked with him, and people always complain, oh, well, his strike zones aren't that great. It's consistent day in, day out. He's always going to give you a little bit off the plate, a little low, but it's consistent every day. So you know it's coming. So it's not like, oh, well, this day it was inside, this day it's outside, this day it's up. It's consistent. And he doesn't take crap from anybody.
No.
He doesn't care who you are, who do you think you are. Not that he's a superhero umpire. He's just trying to go about his business. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to, scare him into making good calls or changing the calls for you.
No.
You're an old school kind of guy. You're really going to get on his nerve, he'll tighten up the strike zone a little bit. Mm-hmm. You're really going to get on his nerve. We've seen him with Bumgarner.
Yep.
So, but just a great umpire who's seen it all. And been a big part of a lot of big moments. One was, including the Dave Roberts steal of second base against Mariano in that series. He was the second base umpire. He said that was probably the greatest call of his career.
Yeah, it was a good call, too.
Yeah, so, great for him. I love Joe West. And just a big piece of baseball, even though you don't think, umpire, but, I mean, that's a lot of games, and that's a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
So,
sure.
That's good for him, and gotta love, old Country Joe, Cowboy Joe.
Yeah.
So, I believe he's a country singer or something. He has some sort of band or something, and he does.
I think you're right.
And he loves classic cars, so go Joe West.
Yeah, cool guy, and good for him. That's a lot of time in baseball. A lot of time.
Yeah.
Seen a lot of players come and go.
Yeah, and he actually, I had a good story with him. I believe it was Big Poppy's rookie year or one of his first spring trainings, and he got down to first base, and Joe West was umping in spring training, and he said I'm glad you're gonna be around in the league a long time. And Big Poppy was a young guy, and he had no clue. He's just trying to make the team. And he looked at it and he goes, oh, well, how come you say that? And he goes, well, at least I know I'll always be at least the second ugliest guy here.
I remember that story. That's a good story.
Yeah. And Big Poppy, as a young guy, it's like, what the hell?
What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah. He said, at least you'll be around in the league a long time. At least now I'll know I'll be the second ugliest guy here. Always at least be the second ugliest guy here. So,
yeah, I'm sure he had a lot of great banter with the players you never hear. You know what I mean? Because
Nelson Cruz with the self in the All-Star game, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Him and Yachty was the catcher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joe West is like, what's going on? And it's just it's great. It's just I don't know. He's like the grandpa of baseball, but he's not that old. To think of that. But he's like everyone loves him.
Yeah.
But
sure.
He'll get on people's nerves at times. But he's still just good old grandpa.
Yeah. I'm sure the relationships you get, especially if you're in baseball a while with the umpires, because he's got to be a guy that there's some guys they're real good friends, or they're really well acquainted, or I can only imagine the stories he can tell, so that's really cool. So good for him.
Yeah.
So this one's a little bit of a long one because it's a quote that I got here. So this has to do with the experimental changes that the MLB's been going through in the minor leagues. All of this, by the way, that I should cite it, is coming from CBS Sports today. All the news I got. This in particular is coming from CBS Sports, but the data is coming from Sam Dykstra at MLB.com. So just bear with me here. It's a pretty lengthy quote. So according to Sam Dykstra at MLB.com, quote, at the lower A level, this is all related, by the way, primarily around stolen bases. At the low A level, where step-offs and pickoff throws are limited, stolen bases per game are up from 0.83 in 2019, because they can't compare to 2020, all the way to 1.42 so far in 2021. In high A, pitchers must step off the rubber before throwing to a base. Stolen bases per game are up from 0.80 in 2019 to 1.41 early going in the season. In Triple A, where the bases are slightly larger, 18 square inches up from 15 square inches, steals have seen a slight bump from 0.63 in 2019 to 0.83 this season. In Double A, where defensive shifts were limited, but nothing that would affect stolen base rates was implemented. Basically, nothing has changed. In 2019, base runners stole 0.76 bags per game, and in 2021, that figure is 0.79, end quote. So, a lot of experimental changes here. Some I don't hate, some I don't agree with, especially the pitcher stepping off stuff. Really don't like that. Limiting the shifts, I'm willing to listen on. I'm willing to give that a try. Bigger bag. I think they could do different, more unique stuff with the bag, rather than just making it bigger. But I think that the end goal here of trying to have more action in play and have the stolen base become maybe a bigger thing in the game, I don't hate the idea. I think there could be better ideas that could help this. But I don't hate the idea of, hey, let's try to just get the stolen bases up a little bit. Even if it's just like, look at these, they're slight bumps, from just a little under one a game to a little over one a game. So slight bumps like that, I agree with the sentiment. I don't know if I agree with the way they're doing it.
Yeah, it's good to see stolen bases, but my question becomes, does the rules actually have anything to do with it? Or has it become the fact that now my cleanup hitter, now my 3-hitter, is a pure athlete? I don't have the big poppy on my team anymore. Everybody's a pure athlete. Also, my starting pitchers, look at baseball, they're taking an hour and a half to get to the plate anymore. There's no slide steps.
Mm-hmm.
There's no quick moves. Less people have good pickoff moves. So has it come to the point where people just realize, hey, the numbers are going down, and these guys aren't any better at throwing me out. Let's try some of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, has it become the rules, or has it just become, it's just the turn?
Yeah.
Where it's just the flow. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. I'm sure the rules could help, but it also could be the fact that, you got guys, Syndergaard's a great, he's very long to the plate. So it's like you get a decent jump and you have some decent speed, which almost everybody has any good speed anymore. It becomes a lot easier. Like I said, does the rules help it? It could. Or is it the flow of the game? That's you get to see. Like, I like to see what the MLB's numbers are.
Well, I was also going to say they only give one piece of historical data in the year of 2019, because there's obviously no minor league stats for 2020. So I wonder what 2018, 2017, 2016 look like. You go further back, do they all sit around 0.8? Do they all sit around 0.7?
What's the MLB's, who has no rule, has there been up a little bit? Like, you see the one, you said it was up from 0.76 to 0.79.
Yeah.
But there's been no real rule change. The shift, that's not going to really adjust much stealing bases.
No, not really, no.
You can even see that. I mean, it's very small, but it's up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the idea that they're already running without really making a rule change. So we'll see. That's just how you could do. So,
yeah.
But if the stolen base can come back into baseball, that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree.
A little bit of news I have here. We've seen Willie Adames, young shortstop from the Rays, get traded to the Brewers. Does this open a door for Wander Franco or Brojan? Is his name Brujan?
Vidal Brujan,
Yeah.
If that's how you say his name, I'm not sure.
So you have two guys there. I didn't even have another guy who's not really a high prospect, but a young shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
So they had made a trade there to get move him to Milwaukee, and they got two relief pitchers. Willie Adames, only 25 himself, a big part of what the Rays did last year. So that's like not a blockbuster trade, but some decent names early here in the season to see get traded.
Yeah.
Another piece of news here we got is the Olympic qualifiers. We've seen the rosters get announced. It can't be on a 40-man roster, so that's why we've seen Todd Frazier added late. Guys like David Robertson, Homer Bailey. We've seen some guys like this get on their roster, which is cool to see. Some players who are still trying to pitch in the majors say, like, hey, let me go pitch for the Olympics, so not everybody can do, and not everybody can say they did. So let me get some innings played here and showcase myself, as well as try winning, qualifying, and winning a gold medal.
Yeah, sure.
So I think that was pretty cool, and we're going to see. It's always cool to see some, older guys too. I mean, obviously these guys are still kind of in the league, but like the Baseball World Classic, you used to see guys like I remember years ago, Bernie Williams was done with MLB, but he was playing in the Baseball Classic, so it was always kind of cool to see those guys.
Yeah.
So the Olympics is pretty cool, especially to see guys like Frazier and guys you kind of really watch, and still want to play in the majors. So it's like a tryout for them.
Yeah, it always it's different from the World Baseball Classic where you have all the players in it, so you kind of, or well, not all the players, but like more of your active players. Where with the Olympics, it's always like these guys that are still trying to get in, or they're trying to make a comeback or something. So they're still obviously talent. It's just I would always just imagine, what if you just gave the best 9 or the best 25 on an Olympic team? It would be like the basketball teams back in the day.
It would be,
it would be ridiculous.
We just shut the league down for.
That's the what do you want? Which I'm fine with just the season going on and giving the other guys showcases kind of and letting see, because they're talented. They could definitely.
Classic is good enough. You get your Olympics, quote unquote, without missing baseball time.
Exactly.
Exactly. Perfect way to do it.
Which is we were missing out on, correct? The World Baseball Classic because of COVID. And
I believe it moved back a year or so. I don't know I don't know. They don't have. I don't think they really announced a schedule for it.
That's why I wasn't sure. But hopefully we get that, because I do like the World Baseball Classic. Exciting.
But yeah. Other than that, that was pretty much my bit of news here. So if you want to go into who's doing the best right now, we can go right into hot and colds.
Yeah. So to wrap up the news segment and all that stuff, and kind of get into our hot and cold teams and players. Who's doing the best right now? Padres currently on the best record in the league at 30-17, while the Dodgers are in second in the NL with a 29-18 record. On the AL, the Rays on the best record as of today. I had to change it because there was an afternoon game. The Rays on the best record in the league, while the Red Sox on the second best record in the league at 29-19. The Rays being at 30-19. The Padres on the best run differential in the league at plus 75, and the Pirates on the worst at minus 78. Maybe could have had something to do with losing like 20-1 or whatever that game was.
Yeah.
That probably had something to do with it. So the Tigers do not own that worst run differential accolade anymore.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't hold your breath there.
Yeah, so it's now going to be maybe the Pirates and the Tigers will be down there, but we'll see.
That makes a lot of sense.
But how about the Rays rattling off 11 in a row here as of recording this on Monday? And Padres, I mean, the Dodgers are making a little bit of a run now too. They got cold and now they're hot again, but the Padres and the Dodgers right there at the top, kind of like we thought. So
that's how it goes.
Yeah. And then the Giants are clinging on. They're still playing okay. So, I mean, that's always surprising too. But yeah, so to move on from there to the hot and cold players. So for this week, the players of the week for the AL at least were pitchers. So I don't have players of the weeks in my hitting categories here. You will. And we already talked about them, so you kind of know who's coming. So my 5 hot players for the week. Number 1, no particular order like usual, I have Nick Castellanos with a 524 average, a 952 slugging, and a 1536 OPS. Number 2, I have Austin Riley with a 478 average, a 1304 slugging, and a 1784 OPS. Jesse Winker with a 409 average, a 1227 slugging, a 1707 OPS. I believe he had 6 home runs in the last week here, which is pretty damn impressive. Number 4, I have Brian Anderson, a 476 average, a 714 slugging, a 1274 OPS. And for the last guy, when I do these, I usually try to pick guys with at least like 18 to 20 at-bats, just like to have a good sample size. My last guy is Tatis. He had 14 at-bats, but golly, I mean, I had to put him on here. He had a 786 average, a 1929 slugging, a 2752 OPS, just absolutely raking since coming back. So, like I said, I usually try to keep it to where the guy has a big sample size. I don't like to have 10 at-bats and the guy went 8 for 10. It's kind of like a little cheesy, So, but those are my hot guys for the week, my hot hitters.
Yeah, a couple guys I wanted to throw in there. Garrett Cooper for the Marlins had a walk-off the other day. He's also batting, I believe he's batting over 400 over his last 7 days.
Mm.
And Edmundo Sosa, Cardinals, I believe he's batting over 500 for them. older guy, and they really like him in the organization. But he's really been a big part of filling in for some injured guys.
Mm-hmm.
Some pitchers to look at. Really, all the Yankee starters. They have a team record of what is their streak now? 37, 38 consecutive innings from starting pitchers without giving up a run.
Mm-hmm. Something like that, yeah.
First time since like Red Ruffing in the 1930s that the Yankees had something like that. So all the Yankee starters, that's Cole, Kluber, Montgomery, Talion, Domingo Germán, they're all pitching great right now.
Yeah, really are.
Some other guys, Germán Marquez, picking it up. Cody Petit for the Marlins, pitched great. Spencer Turnbull, obviously, and Dan Dunning pitched great against the Yankees the other day. But just want to throw those guys out there. Some of these pitchers, especially Cody Petit, young guy, and then like I said, the Yankee starters are record breaking right now, team franchise record breaking at least. What they're doing.
Yeah, it's something to watch. The teams like that start getting hot, So it's good for them. Good for those pitchers. Some guys, Cody Petit. It took me a little thinking before I could remember who he was. So it's always good to see that instead of just seeing the usual suspects on there.
Yeah.
So to get into my cold players, my cold hitters, again, no particular order. Number 1, Eugenio Suarez, batted .048 over the last week, .048 average, a 190 slugging, and a 321 OPS. Having himself quite the rough year, especially in the average department, Suarez. Okay. Number 2, Harrison Bader, .053 average, 105 slugging, 248 OPS over the last week. Justin Turner, .053 average, .053 slugging, a 153 OPS. Just a really rough week at the plate. Jorge Soler, number 4, .056 average, 222 slugging, and 278 OPS. So clearly his on base must have been a .056 as well, because his slugging was actually quite a bit above. And last here, number 5, Luke Voit, .059 average, .059 slugging, and a .297 OPS. Yeah, a lot of guys, all these guys here batting under 100 in the last week. Voit having a little trouble since coming back. Turner, a little surprising out of him. He's usually pretty consistent with the Dodgers. Soler, I guess, still got some power numbers, but not in the average department. And Suarez, no surprise there at all in any of it. So
yeah, some other guys to take a look at. Josh Donaldson really struggling, batting under 100, and Jared Kelenic came up and has been relatively quiet for the Mariners, but I wouldn't expect that to last much longer.
No, he's good.
Yeah, some pitchers that are really struggling right now. JT Brubaker for the Pirates. Aaron Bummer getting beat up out of the bullpen for the White Sox. Matt Harvey, after a pretty solid start to the season, has really been beat up the last couple starts. Eduardo Rodriguez and Griffin Canning, who's really been struggling with the Angels this year. So those are some cold pitchers to go along with those cold hitters. Then I just want to get into some injuries. Again, we're still talking big names. And the first one here is probably the biggest name in all of baseball, and that is Mike Trout with the calf strain. Expect to miss 8 to 10 weeks. So I'm just going to blame Mike for Trout getting hurt. I don't know. That one episode he said something about Trout getting hurt and missing some time, God forbid, and I think now we got it, so I blame Mike for that.
Sure. An easy target.
Yeah, good. Some other guys, we're looking at Kevin Biggio went on the IL. Chris Davis, a big name, but not a big... doesn't make a big impact anymore, but it's a big name. He's out for the season. He's getting, hip surgery or something.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it could have been a cracked nail, and he would have been out for the season. The Orioles are just trying to get out from underneath his contract.
Yeah.
I think next year, he'll have, 1 year left after next season, so he has 2 years now. I think you'll probably see him get released at that point.
Yeah.
Most of the contracts,
you just eat it.
Yeah, beaten up at that point. You might as well just get rid of him. Aaron Hicks, wrist surgery, placed in the IL. JT Realmuto placed in the IL. Miles Mikolas, which is a shame because he finally came back, pitched like 5 shutout innings, and then placed back on the IL. So hopefully he can come back because he's a pretty good pitcher and a pretty good story, and he would help that first place Cardinals team for sure. Wade Miley, we've seen him a no-hitter, placed in the IL. Nick Senzel, a great talent, hurt every single day, always day to day, always has some sort of injury. He's on the IL. Mike Moustakas, tough as nails on the IL. Keanu Kella for the Padres. Tommy John, he's done for the year, obviously placed in the IL. And then on the the lighter side of things, the better side of things, we got Cody Bellinger, rehab, he's on his way back. Will Myers activated, he is back. Kyle Freeland is about to be activated for the Rockies. Hopefully he can turn his nightmare year or so around. Going back to last year and the year before.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, he was in the Cy Young race.
That's right. Yeah, he was.
So, Ketel Marte is back. Christian Yelich is back. Jazz Chisholm is back. DeGrom will be back tomorrow. He was throwing 100 miles per hour and, high A or low A the other day.
Yeah, just not fair.
Yeah, causing a ruckus out there. Kevin Kiermaier on the way back. He'll be back. I think he actually was activated.
Oh.
Either activated or about to be activated. I don't remember now.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Right on the cusp at the very least of being back. So that's some bigger names on the way back, but also a lot of bigger names losing. So it's just give or take kind of. It's a shame we see anyone get hurt, but especially these big names like Trout and guys like that. It's just a shame because, at this point, you're starting to run up against with some of Trout's injury history. Not that it's been huge, but he has missed a decent amount of games over his little career here. And then there's the shortened season last year. He's starting to creep his way into the category of, boy, what was his stats would have been? The Ken Griffey idea. Like, his stats are still going to be great, but what would they have been without all these injuries?
Sure.
And that's kind of where he's starting to creep here. So that's a shame. So hopefully he can just kind of ride out 4 or 5 real healthy years in a row and really, trying to turn that around. But he's really starting to you start to question, like, is this going to really, are we going to miss out on a lot of his career because of just stupid injuries?
Yeah, and he's still young, but, he's going to be on the other side of 30 soon. So that's when, your stats start to go down and the injuries maybe prop up even more. So hopefully they stays away, and hopefully maybe his IL stints remain small. But yeah, I hate to see a guy like that because he's really a guy that I really like and most baseball fans should like. And to see that happen to kind of like our ambassador of the game or our star as a baseball community, it sucks. See someone like that get hurt. So
yeah, definitely. So I just wanted to go to all the no hitters we got here. With all the no hitters, I don't want to go with which year and all that, but I wanted to go with a crazy one I seen, and another 2-part one. It always seems to go that way. What is the most consecutive hitless innings in MLB history, and by which pitcher? Me and Mike were researching it before.
Oh man.
And we got down a rabbit hole. But the record is 25 1/3 consecutive hitless innings, which comes out to 76 straight batters.
Yep.
Without a hit. And the pitcher was the one and only Cy Young. The streak started on April 25th of 1904. He then threw a perfect game on May 5th of 1904, which I believe is the first official perfect game in MLB history.
Yep.
And this streak ended on May 11th of 1904. So this was a 25 1/3 consecutive hitless innings by Cy Young, which amounted to 76 straight hitters without a hit. And that is the record. That is incredible. You would think people thought, even Mike here thought it was Jeremy Van Meter.
Yeah.
The only guy to throw back-to-back starts with a no-hitter. That's, at least 18 innings. But no, it's our buddy Cy Young here with the award named after him. And then people could have even thought, oh, you got Mark Burley. He has the record for most consecutive perfect innings with 15. But nope, not it there. It's Cy Young with 25 1/3.
Yeah.
And 76 straight hitters.
It's insane.
Without a hit. And that's incredible. It seems to be unbreakable, but the way baseball's going now, you throw a reliever out there, a guy like Chapman or something, where he's just going out there and he's going nuts. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. Really.
So I wouldn't be surprised in this day and age, but I don't think we get there. But you never know. You really never know.
Yeah. By the way, to add a little context to that, if you're wondering, well, how could he, if he only threw one perfect game in there, how could he have 25 1/3, face so many batters? It's because, it was April 25th it started. He had a start where he finished the game and didn't give up any hits. He also had appearances in 2 games within, the perfect game. He had an appearance before the perfect game and one after the perfect game. So he wouldn't have gotten a no-hitter because there were only appearances. So he finished a game no-hit, his appearance was no-hit, perfect game, another no-hit appearance, and then he finally gave up a hit at some point in the other game. So that's where we had to look it up because it didn't. In my head, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So that's where back then, guys just pitched. So he pitched all the time.
Yeah,
That's where it comes from.
So, but that's just an incredible number.
Yeah, really a number that, like you said, could only come from that era of baseball or possibly this new era of baseball. It's just such a ridiculous thing.
Sure.
So
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Cy Young, obviously a legend of the game. We have the award named after him, if you weren't familiar. Anyone out there? But yeah, it's definitely a good one. I don't know. I don't know how many people will really get that right off the bat. Your trivia questions definitely tend to definitely test the knowledge. My baseball knowledge for sure. It stretches it out. So we'll see what happens with when we put the trivia question out on Twitter. But that's kind of all I got for this episode. Hopefully next time we record, there's not another 8 no-hitters to talk about. We'll see. I'm sure after we talk about this tomorrow, there will be one just to really make us happy that we record on Mondays.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's kind of a little bit busier news week, but not like some weeks where we really struggle to find stuff to talk about.
Yeah. The only couple things I could throw in there, one, Corey Kluber threw a no-hitter. Oddly enough, me and Mike that day were talking to each other around 5 p.m.-ish or so, and we were saying how the Yankees had one of the longest active streak, if not the longest active streak, without a no-hitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we were like, well, they're going to throw one at some point,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Garrett Cole and some guys like that. And we're like, it'll be someone weird. Mike threw a Gumby, Jordan Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was like, well, maybe Kluber could throw one or something. He's still got this nasty stuff at times.
Mm-hmm.
And then that day, when I text you third inning,
Mm-hmm.
midway through the third inning, I'm like, Corey Kluber's got something cool going.
Sure,
I
yeah.
knew immediately. I'm like, this guy's gross right now.
Me too. I turned on the game. He was through 4 outs. He struck out 3 of those 4 people. I looked at my dad and said, he's just doing something pretty cool right now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
And I texted him, Mike, in the third inning. I'm like, he's doing something real pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was just ironic. Or we're just that good.
Yeah, right? We just knew.
Yeah. Other things to look for. I mean, we've seen one somewhat impactful trade. Trade rumors are going to heat up. We're getting into June here soon, so the trade rumors and that spinning wheel will take off here soon.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll really liven up our news weeks.
Yeah.
And the last little bit is this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so that's always a great time for baseball. A great time. Really, it's like all right, the season's going. You're either good or you're not good now.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's time to flip the coin and find out what side you're on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big turning point in the season, and it's just a great time to go out and enjoy the weather, the time, with things lifting and mandates and being able to see people and go out and enjoy yourself. Some Memorial Day weekend, so I just want to have everybody to go out and have a good time.
Yeah, go out, be safe, enjoy yourself. We're starting to get back to normalcy here, slowly but surely, and everyone happy Memorial Day, and like I said, just be safe and have fun.
Yeah.
So with that, if you want, wrap this up and get out of here.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel, as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.